Okay, hey Ray, this is Gary. We're on a recorded conference call here, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I've been wanting to do this for a while now, and I've just been so busy with this rollout. We're getting, uh, teaching assignments in multiple offices in multiple regions. So I'm literally on the road every day and every week, and it's been that way since mid-April, and it's not going to stop at least in the foreseeable future all the way into August. So I finally decided just to do the freeconferencecall.com to record some of our students, just talking about what it is they're doing out there and what kind of transactions they're getting, what's happening, just basically who, where, when, why, how. So this is for everybody who's going to listen to this recording. This is Ray Higgins, and Ray Higgins is a student from the Investor Agent Training Program, also, of course, an agent with Keller Williams, and has dabbled in investing himself and wanted to get in this program to get more involved with investing and earn commissions while he was at it. So Ray, welcome. I appreciate you doing this.
Not a problem, Gary.
Okay, good. What I'd like to start with, Ray, is really a lot of people just want to know your story. They want to know what it's like out there. What are you doing? What's working, what's not working. So it's they get more real world exposure, and hopefully would help them in their game, in their efforts, whatever it is they're doing, and wherever they are. Because we've got students now literally from coast to coast. I'm actually in Canada now. I'll be up in Montreal and Ottawa all week. I'll be in California again next week. I was there in April. And I just finished up in New England, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, and lots of awesome classes there. So, in any case, why don't we start with you personally? Like I remember you joined Keller Williams 1 or 2 years ago, and it sort of at my urging, and really nothing was happening there for a while. And then we talked about the Investor Agent Training Program, and all of a sudden things are happening. So if you could kind of fill us in a little bit on that, in your own words, go back to when you first signed up. I think we met at an investor club meeting, and then fast forward a year or two, and then you sign up for the program, and what's happening now. If you wouldn't mind sharing, that would
Sure.
be awesome.
Yeah, Gary. Way I started investing is I went to the local investor club that was in Pittsburgh and got to know people there. And they started out with a what they call the ugly house tour. And they go around at 10 houses on a Saturday morning and look at them. And you get a feel for how to renovate houses and all that. And as we did that, I got a feel for it. I started to look at the foreclosure properties that were out there, and my first house was a foreclosure that needed a ton of work. The leader of the group thought that I bit off more than I could take, but we were able to do it. It took a lot longer than we expected. It took a lot more money than we expected, but I still own that house, and I've been running it now for 3 years, and it's been a real good cash flow for me. Since that time, I've bought 2 other houses and actually flipped them, made a little bit of money on each of them, not as much as you would on the TV shows, but it's still positive cash flow. As I was doing that, I was deciding to maybe become a realtor so that when I bought the houses, we could make a little money on that end, and when we go and sell the houses, we would be able to make money when we sell the houses. So at that point, me and my wife became realtors, and we were through Keller Williams, and we enjoy that office a whole lot. They have a great system where they have good support, but you're not required to do any office hours. And for me, that was important because I have another day job at this time. So fast forward now, about 1.5 years after we become realtors, I now have 3 active listings. I've closed on 1 house, and I have another house that's going to close at the end of June here. So we've been making steady progress. And these listings have all been started in the last 3 months since I joined this investor group. So it's really been paying off for me.
Good. When you say join the investor group, you mean you took the Investor Agent Training Program?
Yes, the Investor Agent Training Program.
Yeah. Okay. And if I could, just so people know, they only see me for 1.5 to 2 hours in their offices. and so they really don't know me. But when you take the training program, you actually get to know me because we engage with each other, and I speak to every student. Um, and since the agent training program, actually, let me just preface this. I remember you and I had a conversation, and I can't remember when it was. Maybe it was around the holidays, and you'd expressed a little bit of disappointment that you'd been an agent for a year or a year and a half, a year or two, and nothing was really happening, and you were hoping that I would send you some referrals, and that's when I reminded you that I really don't, send referrals out anymore unless it's to people who've taken my training program. So lo and behold, you and I worked out an arrangement for you to take the training program. But I'll elaborate on that a little bit because I like the fact that it's a true story. It just shows people that in this world, nothing's perfect, nobody's perfect. But if you at least get in the game and swing the bat, you get your education, you get your information, things will start to happen. Sometimes they'll come out of left field, you know. But if you could elaborate on that a little bit, and then I want to talk about some of these current transactions because I know some are small and I think one or two are big. And that's just like how it goes in the owner-occupied world. I mean, sometimes you get the bear, sometimes the bear gets you, But tell everybody about that a little bit because I know I took it as more of a personal challenge when you and I had that conversation. And I didn't want to say, well, you've got to do X before you can get Y, but at the same time, I had to honor the program and all the other students that I've taught, and I think you really appreciated that, and it was sincere. And lo and behold, here you are. You've got I think three or four transactions going on, and one you've already cashed out on just since you just started,
Yeah, that's right, Gary. When I first took the investor training program through you, I was a very skeptical person, and then you did come through with some referrals for me. 3 in particular. One I've cashed out on, and that one that I've already cashed out on gave me more income than what the cost of the program was. So to me, it was a win-win situation.
What was the price on that one? Because I can't remember.
$325, I believe, somewhere around there.
$325,000.
So, correct.
Awesome.
So
okay.
It was a very nice house. There was a little bit of work with it. The people were motivated buyers, and I showed them one house as a courtesy showing for you initially, and that was in my neighborhood, so it wasn't a very difficult thing to do, and I was happy to do that. And then after you got too busy, you did not have time to take care of them any further, so you referred them to me, and they were a very nice referral. I think I showed them 5 additional houses, and of those 5, we looked at one house 3 different times that was actually more money, but it was a lesser quality house, and then we found this other house through due diligence, and they were very, very happy with it and made an offer, and they kept going forward with it. Very happy people.
Well, you mentioned something that's actually a good, interesting point. The fact is that one in particular, if I'm not mistaken, that wasn't even an investor transaction. That was a regular owner-occupied transaction, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and I tell people when I teach a class in the Keller Williams offices, I make sure I tell them, hey, these aren't all investor leads. The marketing that I do, ironically, generates, and they're not actually leads, they're referrals because Beverly screens them: timing, motivation, readiness, willingness, ability. But we've given referrals out literally from coast to coast, everywhere from Stockton, California. I think that was over $400,000 to Cherry Hill, New Jersey, somewhere over between $200,000 and $300,000. And half of them are owner-occupied transactions. It's just kind of an irony. We can't really control who's going to see what we put out there and respond to it with that type of marketing, but it works,
Yep.
Now the other ones were investor deals, weren't they? The other listings that you have?
Yeah, one listing was an investor deal, and another listing came to you via you being a top salesperson in the area, and it was a person looking out for their dad, who she actually lives in Virginia, and the house is here in the Pittsburgh area. So she was looking to find, the dad is actually an investor. He owns a number of houses in East Pittsburgh area, and that's one of the ones that I have listed. that he's looking to reduce his portfolio there.
Okay. All right. Now, something else interesting, Ray, about you mentioned earlier in the call, you do have a regular full-time job, and are you a chemist? Is that what it is? I can't remember exactly.
That is right. Yep.
Yes, sir. So you're doing this literally in just a few hours a week because you already have a full-time job.
That is correct.
That's awesome. So let me ask you this. How many would you say you go out one night a week, maybe 2 nights, and spend a half a day on a Saturday? Like, what's your average time out in the field? You know,
I'm doing it a couple nights a week, and I've been going out one day on Saturday or Sunday, out looking, helping show houses if necessary.
Okay.
I was able to multitask one time where I was able to show a house and sell a house in the same day and everything like that. So it worked out well.
Okay. All right. Well, let me ask you this, and we're going to try to wrap this up because I know you've got to get going here. But from you being on the training calls that you've been on, and I see your name out there, you know, there were more early on when you were in the program and less now, but that's okay. That's typical. But of the marketing techniques that we use, and hearing what people are doing on these live training webinars, and I like to point out Francis Berry because he's doing the free investor workshop, and he liked it so much he started doing them not just once a month like I did. He's doing them multiple times a month. But aside from that, and you heard people talk about doing the letter campaigns, what would you say would be the next thing you're going to do as far as, like, which one would you pick yourself to do from hearing other students out there practicing and what's working for them? Like, is there anything that sticks out in your mind as, hey, I want to do this first?
Yeah. Well, in where I live, in the Pittsburgh area, I live in the southern part of Pittsburgh in Washington County. Mm-hmm. And there used to be a real estate group there that folded up about 2 years ago. And I've been trying to contact people to restart that group. And in Pittsburgh, there's a attorney that we use quite often. He's actually done closings on 3 of my houses personally. And he says he can refer me to an attorney in the Washington County area that would be able to help me get the group started and all that. And I think that's the next step I need to do, because I've been out there, I've been doing it, and I just want to get more people together, like at a Panera Bread or some other location, just to have people get a dialogue going and see how we can communicate more. When I've done renovations, my biggest problem and challenge has been finding quality contractors that can come in, bid a job, and I can have trust in them. That's something that I'm still learning, and I think if I'm more involved in the group, we can get quality people that way.
Right. Well, keep in mind, too, you can use a room at your church, at your local library, in your municipal building. It usually has community rooms, too, that you can get for free as a citizen. So keep that in mind, too. I mean, Panera works. I used to do that, too, myself, probably for about a half a year. And they'll give you a room for free as long as you buy food and drinks and stuff like that. But if you go to the library or community building or your local church, they're going to be free, and there really is no requirement to buy anything. You just have to. It just has to be a nonprofit event and community oriented. You know, so I would, like with mine, I never charge my agents. I mean, I never charge my investors, a dime to come to mine, and I also didn't let all the people participating stand up and try to promote their own properties. I didn't even promote my own, as a matter of fact. You know, now if consumers decide to work with me within that context of the agent-client relationship, certainly I would always promote my own listings. You know, but that's a huge difference between the bigger RIA groups and ACRE groups and something you would do on your own. The other difference is, Ray, you would be the only agent there. You would get all the business out of your own group, as opposed to the traditional other big model where there's multiple agents there. So I'm glad to hear that you want to choose that as being your next thing. And just like everybody else, when you're ready to do that, you obviously give me a call, email me, and we'll go through a strategy session and help you get that up and running. And I think you're in an excellent area to do that, because there's a void there. There's a presence that used to be there. It's no longer there. You can fill that void and literally corner the market, you know?
Right.
So Was there any other thoughts you have, like final comments or, I mean, other students are going to hear this because I'm going to get this recorded, or it is being recorded, but I'm going to get it loaded up somehow or another so that Beverly can send it out. But any thoughts,
Sure.
anything you could share with people? To me, it's always an emotional thing. Like a lot of people are stuck on the sideline. They just don't take that first step forward. And the irony is I know that's exactly what it's needed to get the job done, because if they just execute any one of these activities, they're all proven, not just by me, but multiple students to work. But that's always my thing. But what would you say would be your comment or suggestion to everybody out there that wants to have some of the success that you had?
Sure. Well, the tools that you teach people are so invaluable, and like the Melissa data with the zip code guides and all that was incredibly helpful. The one customer that you referred to me, he was an investor. He had one property he was looking to sell, and when I went to meet them for the first initial meeting, I had the Melissa data right there. Showed them to them the data that 60% of the people in the township that they're looking at are rental properties, and it's really a prime area for rentals to sell it. And they already had the rental, but knowing that I was a realtor that knew that that was a rental area, they gave me that sale as far as the listing that night. So it went really well, and by being an informed agent, it helped me to show the consumer that I was right there ready for them. So the tools that you give people are tremendous.
Well, thank you. Yeah, the funny thing is I honestly don't ever remember a single consumer saying no to me, because I would show them the stuff, Ray, and they weren't getting it from anybody else. Just amazing. It's literally like operating in a vacuum. You literally have almost no competition. So. Okay. Well, listen, Ray, I really appreciate your time. Let's stay in touch. I know you and I talk probably an average of once a month or so anyways. One of these days I actually will make it back into Pittsburgh. I don't know when.
And your weekly conference call, just one other point though, you have two ways you can join. You can join via the computer, or the way I've been joining lately is that I'll actually dial in on the phone and just listen in. So you don't know that I'm actually there, but I am still listening. And then we get an email the next day that you can listen to the conference call at any time you want to. So the information's just there. It's just a matter of taking the time and listening to it. Yeah. And it's really great that being able to have these conference calls every week to see what everybody else is doing.
So actually, you know what? One final good point in that, because I try to emphasize this too when I teach at the Market Center level, the free 2-hour class. I try to emphasize that weekly training call, how valuable that is, because I hear it all the time from students just like you. So would you say that helps you fill in the gaps and stay in touch and be engaged and feel more confident out there?
Absolutely. When I first started, I would go to the local real estate group, and basically I was a junkie, and then I needed to go to the group just to re-inspire myself every month. Now there's multiple groups that I go to. There's 3 different groups in the Pittsburgh area that I visit, and each one has something different to offer. And those are all on Central Philly or Central Pittsburgh, north or east of Pittsburgh, and I'm trying to get another one going on the south side. So there's opportunity here, and there's many people who are still doing this sort of thing. But having this extra knowledge as an investor, tailoring the business to investors really makes it different as a realtor.
Okay. All right, good. Well, listen, Ray, once again, I apologize for keeping this going. I know you've got to get going. I think you said 7:30, and it's 7:40 now. So I really appreciate your time, and I think I speak for the other students that they would appreciate hearing you talk a little bit about your story, what's working, what's not working, and what your plans are. And so now when they hear and see you on the training calls, they might be more inclined to raise your hand, ask a question, or type something in. So don't be surprised if I call on you, from time to time.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
All righty, sir.
All right.
Well, tell Lori I said hello, and hope you guys have an excellent week coming up here.
Yep, we will. You take care now.
You too, Ray.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.